Hey, moron! Hey, moron! Dude! Look at me! I'm the water boy, dude!
Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here and let's wake up the football gods. You know, I have to say that this year has been incredible. If you are a Dallas Cowboys YouTuber or if you're a Dallas Cowboy writer, unlike any other season that we've had in recent memory, this has been incredible because we have so much that has been going on that literally you're working on one story. I mean, it was just a couple of weeks ago that we had our rookie class and we had, Tyler Booker going through and basically challenging Jalen Carter, and then of course, 6 days ago, we ended up getting Greg Pickens. And then lo and behold, yesterday, we ended up getting Cowboys-Eagles game 1. This is insane how much stuff that's been going on. There is more stuff going on than during the regular season. And so this, of course, is great for business. And dare I say, maybe the NFL recognizes that the Dallas Cowboys being good and competitive, maybe not winning at all, is more important to the league than anything else. If you are a conspiracy theorist, and if you are a Dallas Cowboy YouTuber, you know how the cycle goes, okay? It's the end of the season. Everybody checks out. It's free agency. We're on life support, on vacation. We get a bump up during the draft, right? The excitement of that and, talking about how each of these players fit in and so on. And then it dies until training camp, literally right after 2 weeks after the draft, it's dead until training camp and it starts ramping up till you actually have the season gets here. Well, last year, that you had the usual bump up, but by November, shit crashed. Shit literally crashed. November, December was awful. And, you figured that was going to carry on through, but then you had Mike McCarthy left, so now you got the Brian Schottenheimer. It has been a gold mine for content for everybody. And I'm beginning to wonder if there's a conspiracy theory that realizes, the NFL realizes, hey, we need the Dallas Cowboys to be relevant. We need the Cowboys to be good. Maybe good enough just to get their hearts broken, but we need the Cowboys to get their shit together. And they pick up the phone and they say to the Steelers, Pickens has got one more year. You need to make that trade. You need to make that trade. We need to put them on Monday Night Football. We need the Cowboys to start getting good. I'm not saying that they are definitely, but the NFL is about one thing, and that's making money. And when the Cowboys stink, they're losing money. So now we're beginning to put together all the pieces of the George Pickens situation. When we were talking about, it was just a week ago, we were talking about Amari Cooper coming here. You know that, right? It was just a week ago we were talking about getting Amari Cooper. And, the excitement on that, or Keenan Allen, okay. We had Game Time Brian basically telling me to shut up and stop being, stop panicking, because I said I wanted a true number 2 wide receiver, not an over-the-hill guy. And his whole thing was, the running game. We're going to be good. We're going to focus on running. It's like, it's not either or. You need both, okay? We need to be able to run the football, and we need somebody to have separation out there. We need to have guys that can stretch the field, so that way when you get, Jaden Blue running, that the cornerbacks and the safeties are downfield worrying about, Greg Pickens and worrying about CeeDee Lamb and things like that they can't put 8 men in the box, because this is what this is going to do. This is going to help to keep those 8-man boxes being there, which gives us a little bit more of an advantage in running the football, something that we haven't done well. And so we talked about, I didn't want Amari Cooper back. Okay, I've done Amari Cooper. You know, when we let go of a guy, it was for a reason. And I don't want to go ahead and go back, okay? If I break up with you, we done. I'm starting over. There was a reason for me to break up with you, and I'm not looking to that and saying it's changing. It's time. It's over. It's done. You're dead to me. And I kept saying, I don't want somebody who has been going downhill, who's, you know, been a problem in things, that's not going to be here for very long. I want long-term solutions. And we talked about DJ Moore, who's 29, and we talked about Pickens. And to a man, Cowboy, oh, I don't want Pickens. He's a cancer, man. He's an idiot, this, that, and the other, right? I mean, that's what we heard. And it's like, were you in the locker room with him? Do you know what his teammates said about him? You know, you don't know. You don't know. Now, how this transpired, because it was crazy, because got up in the morning and I'm seeing all these text messages at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's because this is what happened here. George Pickens apparently ended up posting this about 11 o'clock the night before. Okay, let's go to the tape.
Hey! Yeah.
He posted himself. Right?
You couldn't wear shit like this. Hey, that's a good move. Yes, sir, G. Hey, good job. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good shit, GP. That's what. Go to right. Yeah. Come on. Oh, yeah. Yes, sir, G. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel? Yeah. Throw it. Mm-hmm. You good? Good job, G.
Uh-huh.
Pick him up.
Okay. So George posted that at 11 o'clock, right? Okay. Right? Okay, so we found that out, okay? But then he deleted it. And what he said on that, Pickens posted this video to his story and tagged CeeDee Lamb. You ready, big bro? And then he deleted it, okay? They both knew what was about to take place. So then there was this GIF, okay, which was the guy waving. Now, the funny thing is, a lot of people took this as CeeDee Lamb is throwing shade at this, and he wants out of Dallas. No. He did this because he's like, hey, come on. And then, yeah, Pickens posted this video to his story, okay? He then posted this one, like, hey. So what people talked about originally, and basically trying to say, oh, there's going to be problems between CeeDee Lamb and him, you know, listen to Momo, you got two number ones, and they're going to be fighting on who gets to be number one. You know what? I think CeeDee Lamb has been in that situation before with Amari Cooper, and he's been in a situation where he's set the Cowboys' all-time record. I think he's in a situation now that he's been paid, that he's looking to win. Winning cures all this stuff. And I think the same thing can be said about Pickens. Because here's where it gets to be interesting is because people say there's not enough balls to go around. Well, there weren't enough balls to go around with the way the Steelers quarterback stunk. But I can guarantee you with the Cowboys offense, the way they're going to be able to move around, and with Dak Prescott, if he stays healthy, there'll be plenty of balls to go around. Now, Stephen Jones was on with Adam Stein yesterday. They teased out a little bit of the interview of what Stephen Jones, and it's crazy that we actually are beginning to care about what Stephen Jones actually has to say now. You realize that, right? This is insane that we're actually caring what Stephen Jones says. But here's exactly what he said about Pickens. He's an uber competitor and had one, we had one of those in Des Bryant, who was the same way. I mean, you just couldn't get enough. And boy, when the lights came on and the cleats hit the turf, he was just a different guy. And it feels like that with George. George is going to be that way. He certainly sometimes plays with high emotions, and that can, as we all know, when you're playing sports, you're competing and you're playing with a lot of emotion. Sometimes you can make the wrong decision here and there. But we had that with Des. We certainly know how he wants to continue to get his hands around that. Just like Dez, working on it all the time. And we feel like that is certainly worth what comes with the terms of what he's doing to continue to get better when he is out there competing week in and week out. And I know all the homework we did, he's well loved by his teammates. He wants to be, they want him here. They want him on their team. Let me clarify. Let me say it again. Sorry, my reading is bad in my glasses. I need my new prescription. I know all the homework we did, he's well loved by his teammates, and they want him on the team. And we felt the same way about Dez. And we just feel like he's going to bring something here to our organization that we need in terms of edge and bringing that energy of completion to the field, competition to the field, day in, day out, week in, week out. Strong words. And I don't feel like that's just the, where we get the, I can't wait till Ryan Fenoy gets his first catch because he's got some Dez Bryant in. That's not the same thing. It's not the same thing at all with him. And thus far, he's met Jerry and family and everything else. He seems to be all smiles. You hear, Dak Prescott was one of the first ones to call him and welcome him to him. And it sounds like his locker is going to be there right by Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons, and CeeDee Lamb. Make no mistake about it. This is a done deal. And this may be just what the Cowboys need. Could it blow up in their face? It could. Anything could blow up in your face. You just don't know. But ability and opportunity are definitely there, and especially motivation, because George Pickens on the last year where he's getting $3.6 million of salary understands that if I play at a high level, if I stay out of trouble, the big windfall of cash is going to flow my way. So you literally have, to me, this is like, I don't want to say that this is the perfect move, but I don't know how else you could quantify this. If it doesn't work out and you don't sign him, you're basically going to get your pick back with a comp pick. I don't see the negative here. This is a risk as opposed to a risk where, you think about us signing Brandon Cooks for 2 years for $19 million and get 900 yards. You got him signed for a year for 3.6 with motivation that I need to succeed so I can get my big bag of money. And thus far, when you've basically have had everybody trashing him, they have trashed him over and over again. He's not a good player on the team. He's selfish. He's hot-headed. He's not liked in the organization. They've literally trashed him. And even with that, he doesn't seem to be bitter. So you have to enjoy that. And of course, it gives more for people to talk about. Interesting thing is sports talk, sports news, sports reporting now is, what is the craziest shit that we can come up with, even if it doesn't work? As I'm walking to my car from my daughter's graduation yesterday about 2:30, I get an update that says Commanders could sign former Cowboys All-Pro $53 million player. And I was like, who are we talking about? I'm like, what? And I opened it up, and it said that this article had come out 11 hours earlier. So it's 2:30 there, so it had come out, somewhere in the middle of the night, or early in the morning. And I'm reading this, and they're talking about Jalen Smith. And I'm like, Jalen Smith was signed by the Raiders. The bull crap that they're coming up with, it's not even possible. He's under contract with the Raiders. How are you saying that he's going to the Commanders? Now, I mean, you could connect the dots and say, well, Dan Quinn knew him and this, that, and the other, but come on, man. And so we get this one, of course, this morning. Dak Prescott, of course, trade rumors again. Dak Prescott is one of the most disrespected star quarterbacks in the NFL. While his season was cut short during the Cowboys' disappointing season due to injuries, the talking heads continue to pretend that he's not an elite quarterback. They're 100% right on that one. In his last full season, which was less than 2 years ago, Prescott was the runner-up for MVP award and arguably the most deserving player in the league. But because the Cowboys' starting quarterback, Prescott is always thrown into ridiculous headlines to get people talking. The latest conversation comes from Robert Mays of the Athletic Football Show. In a hypothetical situation, Mays suggests Prescott is the most tradable star in the NFL. Every time discussions are brought up by people, magically forget that Prescott has a no-trade clause. Oh, shit! Oh, shit! And a dead cap hit the Cowboys would have to take of $150 million. Not to mention that the contract comes with most virtually untradeable and unforeseeable future. But let's go to the discussion for the moment. He says, let's just say you can get under the financials. You can't. The Cowboys will trade Dak for the right price. Okay. Dak and Kyler Murray range is probably where I think he'd land. I think the answer is right. If you call the Cowboys now, again, if they traded him after June 1st in theories, it would be possible. Now, understand, yes, but you're going to take the $150 million and split it up over 2 seasons. It's still going to be $150 million in debt. In theory, it would make it possible. If you call the Cowboys right now and say, we'll 5 you there, you'll 5 you 3. I don't understand when he says 5 you 3. What do you mean by 5 you 3? First round picks for Dak, I think they would do it. Okay, yeah, you're offering 3 number. You probably get that with most quarterbacks right now in the league. That if somebody called you up and said, we'll give you 3 number ones for a quarterback that's in his 30, I bet you a lot of teams would do that. But there you have it. Dak Prescott to the Arizona Cardinals for 3 number ones. Come on, man. Is that what we've gotten to these days? Is that the best we can do these days? Seriously? Seriously. So, we all know that the Cowboys face the Eagles week 1. Eagle fans are excited. The talking heads are going off about this. And we have the schedule release show tomorrow night. Now, I'm not going to be around tomorrow night. I have some family business I have to take care of tomorrow evening. So I won't actually be able to do that, I don't believe. I think I'll be at a meeting. So there's that. But it will be talked about from here until September 4th at kickoff. My biggest hope is that the Cowboys, now having the possibility of being embarrassed, that they wake up and realize we must do everything in the world between now and then to have our shit together. And that means getting Micah Parsons' deal done and possibly looking at some more talent to add to this roster. It's not rocket science. We've seen what that does. You can go down the line and look at pretty much most of the teams that have been successful in recent history. It's because they used free agency and got the right pieces. Cowboys, they've done a lot of great things. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited. I feel so much better about this team than I did last year. And even if they don't do anything else, they will be a better team. The people that say the Cowboys are not, will not get the over of 7.5, sorry, you're wrong. If Dak Prescott stays healthy, guaranteed they'll be over 7.5 games. They've got a tough schedule that's facing them. They have a lot of young talent. And they have new coaches, which is going to take time to get together. But once they get on the same page, if they're healthy, watch out.
Cowboys Eagles. Here's a look at some of the biggest moves that each team made. The Cowboys had a very quiet free agency, but they traded for George Pickens and then added guard Tyler Booker in the draft, pass rusher Donovan Ezeraku, corner Siobhan Rebel, and Eagles, they saw a bunch of key defensive players like Milton Williams and Josh Sweat leave in free agency. They did add linebacker Jahad Campbell and safety Andrew Makuba in the draft, and they brought in Adoree Jackson and Azeez Ojulari in free agency. We wondered how the Eagles specifically would fill a lot of voids. Well, the Cowboys too. But, Mina, let's start with the Eagles adding youth on the defense as they lost 4 starters from that group that won the Super Bowl. And then when you see the ads for the Cowboys offense, how will it change what they're doing when these teams face off to open the season?
Yeah, I think that the Cowboys offense closed the gap on that side of the ball. We can talk about the other side of the ball where I'm a little bit more apprehensive of how they match up with Philadelphia. But I think offensively, this Cowboys offense really improved, and I think they're going to be able to field a more balanced attack. You know, when they drafted Tyler Booker, 12th overall, I had mixed feelings. Part of me loved the pick because this is a team that has drafted really well on the offensive line. It's been a focus of them, philosophy. They have a young group that got to play together last year, so there's continuity, which Damian knows the importance of. But I also felt like, dang, like really? No wide receivers for Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb getting double teamed. Mm-hmm. Then you go out and bring George Pickens, and suddenly it feels like the plan came together. Because of those receivers, they're going to face lighter boxes. They're going to be able to run the football better, I think, than they did last year. And it's going to be a handful for this Eagles defense, as good as they were last season.
Here we go, Damian.
Yeah, Mina, you touched upon it. I think the real key for the Dallas Cowboys is how well their offensive line comes together. This is a young unit. They've invested a lot of draft capital into this offensive line, and so we saw them struggle last year. But I think as, you know, with continuity, those guys start to trust each other and start playing better. And I think for this whole thing to come together for the Dallas Cowboys on offense, the offensive line and that rushing attack is going to be the key, because last year the Dallas Cowboys were 27th in rushing. I think that's too, you know, you don't want to be too top heavy going, especially going up against a team like the Philadelphia Eagles. So if this offensive line comes together, boy, they have something cooking in Dallas.
And remember, the biggest upgrade the Cowboys will make on offense is the return to health of their starting quarterback, Dak Prescott, who missed the second half of last season with an injury. When he's been healthy, they have generally been a good team. 6 seasons in the NFL that he has finished fully healthy. They've won the division in 4 of them. So they believe that that'll be a big help regardless of what else they did. But yes, Brian Schottenheimer, now the head coach, overseeing the offense. His mandate is to get that run game functioning better. They think the draft pick of Tyler Booker will help. They've added a couple pieces at the running back position in free agency, but they could still poke around. There are potential trades out there, so they'll keep their eyes open for that. But yes, the George Pickens addition gives them the number 2 wide receiver they were looking for since the start of the offseason. Mina, I believe if Teteroa McMillan had still been there at 12, he's probably their pick. But since he wasn't, they went with the guy in Tyler Booker, who they had ranked as their top offensive lineman in the entire draft.
Yeah, a reminder that Dak Prescott missed both of the games against the Eagles last season, so certainly this Cowboys team looks a lot different with him at the helm. Mina, when you look at the Eagles offense, the biggest change, new offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo, who they promoted from within. Now, the last time they did that, of course, it didn't go well. This, by the way, Jalen Hurts' 12th play caller in 10 years. What's key for the Eagles to be more successful this time around?
Yeah, well, you know, on one hand, calling plays for this Eagles offense is not exactly rocket science. You got a top 3 or better offensive line, top 3 running back, top 3 wide receiver duo. You got an extremely good quarterback in Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl MVP. It's not exactly reinventing the wheel. But as you alluded to, Laura, the last time they had that change in terms of an offensive coordinator leaving, for a head coaching opportunity, it didn't go well with their Brian Johnson, who was offensive coordinator after Shane Steichen. It felt like he kind of hit copy-paste and didn't really develop or evolve the offense the way we saw last year with Kellen Moore, some tweaks, giving Jalen Hurts more answers versus the blitz, some of the evolution of the run game. So I think for Kevin Patullo, it really comes down to you don't have to make wholesale changes, but you do have to continue growing and game plan specific changes, integrating new personnel here and there. And I think those little tweaks, particularly in season, are going to be key to whether or not the Eagles can get back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, listen, this is the biggest thing I'm watching for with the Philadelphia Eagles. Listen, I don't expect wholesale changes offensively because, when you have the personnel that the Philadelphia Eagles have, there's no reason to do that. But every offensive coordinator have their own way of calling plays. And so that bears watching. And I think the biggest thing when you talk about a new offensive coordinator is how well they ingest in game. I think that's the biggest thing that we're going to see, how well, from series to series, half to half, how well, new offensive coordinator will be able to adjust. I think that's going to go a long way to kind of ease and maybe some concerns going into the season on that side of the ball.
Again, Thursday, September 4th, it kicks off the 2025 NFL season between the Cowboys and Eagles. By the way, ESPN Bet has the line out for Week 1. Eagles, early 7-point favorites. They are the defending Super Bowl.
7-point.
News out of Cincinnati.
7-point favorites. So there you have it. Alrighty, good people. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you guys. And did you like the camera trick? That just kind of refocusing here. Did you like that? Moving the camera? Or should we just keep it static? Keep it further away from my face. As always, I appreciate you guys. And we will keep you up to speed with everything that is the Dallas Cowboys. Peace out.